People go to all manner of tiger reserves every year in India and come back disappointed when they cannot spot this beautiful beast and our national animal. But these are viral images from a village in eastern Uttar Pradesh's Pilibhit, where a wandering tiger, a big adult, beautiful beast, found an unexpected perch on a compound wall of a gurdwara. This was in Pilibhit. In the video of the incident that has surfaced online and, as you can imagine, gone completely wildly viral, the big cat can be seen standing on what appears to be a boundary wall of that gurdwara. The animal was seen resting on that wall, chilling there for over 6 hours as a crowd simply gathered. Word then quickly spread, obviously. Huge crowd gathered in the vicinity, drawn by the unusual sight. Meanwhile, Forest Department officials thankfully have successfully tranquilized the tiger, but the images have still been quite upsetting. You can see one of the officials pulling the tiger by the tail. Was this the right way to tranquilize it, or are we simply in no position to really judge what was ultimately a difficult and delicate operation involving a big and, let's face it, dangerous, potentially dangerous beast to actually handle? Take a look at these pictures.
रात के 2 बजे शेर कुत्ते के पीछे भागता हुआ आया है हमारे बरांडे तक, और यहाँ से वह कमरे में कुतिया घुस गई और बरांडे पे हम सो रहे थे। बरांडे पे हमने तुरंत अपनी मच्छरदानी थी हमारे पास में, डंडा उठा के हमने मारना चालू करा। बाघ मुसेरे भाई के पड़ोस में घर में घुस गया, वहां से इधर आया, इधर से हमने दोबारा करा, डंडे मारे इधर से। बीच दीवार है हमारी साझी दोनों भाइयों की, उस दीवार के ऊपर आके रात में बाघ बैठ गया। रात से रखवाई कर रहे हैं, पूरी रात हो गई हमें 2 बजे से।
हम इसका जांच करके जो नियमानुसार कार्रवाई होगी हम करेंगे, इसको यहाँ से सुरक्षित यहाँ से लेके जाएंगे। और हमारी कोशिश ये है कि किसी को भी जान माल की हानि ना हो। सबसे पहले हम भीड़ पर नियंत्रण कर रहे हैं, जब भीड़ यहाँ से थोड़ी हट जाएगी उसके बाद हम कार्रवाई करेंगे।
So this is the part where the animal had been shot with a tranquilizer gun, but it was still not completely unconscious. There they cover it with a tarp. It's still conscious, kind of stumbling, obviously groggy after being, hit with that tranquilizer dart. And then you see one of the officials gingerly walking towards it, yanking the poor beast by the tail. Thankfully, the tiger has been recovered safely and is under treatment right now. But these pictures from eastern Pilibhit, it's already become a bit of an internet meme where people have been wondering how they go to places like Corbett and Ranthambore and Panna and Sariska and never get to see a tiger. And here's a tiger right in the middle of human habitation. Now, viewer, it's one thing to enjoy these images, marvel at this beautiful beast, but it is my job to tell you that images of this kind are always a reminder of the collision in the habitat between humans and wild animals. Let us never forget, even for a moment, that it is humans that have encroached on the wild and natural habitat of animals, including tigers. Tigers have been sighted many times in the past in eastern Uttar Pradesh's Pilibhit. A great deal of sensitization already takes place in these areas for forest officials, because tigers have in the past posed a threat. But it is sensitive to process this story not as something that is scary, but as something that is ultimately quite sad and quite troubling, because encroachment of wild habitat of tigers. Remember, tiger is our national animal and is therefore symbolic by itself. India is the only country that has a national program called Project Tiger to save this beautiful beast and make sure it does not become extinct. And even though numbers have been promising in recent years, they are nowhere near the numbers required for tigers to be left alone and to be on their own. And therefore, images of this kind continue to go viral and continue to disturb me. I want to get an expert view on these pictures, viewer, because, like I said, it's not just an internet meme. It's not just an internet or a social media story. What you're seeing in these pictures is something that is very serious. It's something that impacts the life of a wild animal. It impacts the lives of people living in these areas, and it impacts the lives the situation as far as India's ecology and environment is concerned. So there are big questions here. Dr. Anish Andheria is president of the Wildlife Conservation Trust. Dr. Andheria, welcome. Thank you very much for your time on this story. I'm sure you've seen this video, sir, from Pilibhit of this tiger, sitting there, very, very majestically on that compound wall. Huge crowd gathers. We've seen it happen before in Pilibhit, actually. What did you think of this video? What does it tell us, sir?
See, first of all, we have to understand the bigger issue. So we have 3,600 tigers in India. They are spread across 18 states, and we have about 54 tiger reserves. And nearly 3 million people live inside these tiger reserves. So there are 3 million people who live inside the buffer zones of 54 tiger reserves. So there is going to be an interface between large carnivores and people. It probably happens every week. There are tigers that enter villages or come to the farms around the villages pretty much on a daily basis. But when such an event happens during the day, it happens in the night, nobody realizes. And
yes,
because we work in several states, we have seen this happen because we have radio collared several tigers. We know how they move. So tigers are very, very stealthy. They don't come out in the open. So they mostly move around in the night. But when they come out like this in the day, there is what is called rubbernecking that happens, that people somehow, one-on-one, people are scared of large carnivores. However, when they are in a mob, they behave very differently. Every individual in that mob feels that he or she is insulated from the threat that is presented by this massive tiger. A tiger like this will weigh around 170 to 200 kgs. And so a human being is no match. But people still always gather this. And I've seen this not only with tigers, but also with leopards, that you have hundreds of people who surround these animals. Obviously, tigers are carnivores. They have enough weapon on their body to eliminate large herbivores, which are more than 300 kgs. So human beings have no match. However, because of this, the tiger feels, this is a very unusual video, because I feel that the tiger may not be 100% fit for a tiger to stay unperturbed like this on a wall with more
That's what I was going to ask you. Why would the tiger do that? Exactly.
So normally that doesn't happen. So when a tiger finds itself surrounded by people, invariably, like a human being, the tiger will panic and it will try to rush out. In that process, it will have to go in one direction. And obviously there are people there. And because the first liners will be blocked by people behind them, there'll be more or less a stampede, and sometimes humans are injured, and eventually the tiger is killed. In this case, to have a tiger so relaxed is very unusual. So I feel that that animal, there are 2-3 things. One, this tiger is probably born to a female who lives in close proximity of villages. So when it was growing up, so it is a young tiger. It may not be more than 3.5 years. So this tiger would have seen human beings as it was growing. So it was relatively more accustomed to human presence than the tigers which are found deep inside the jungle. That's one. Second, if it is lost condition or it is not well, it can be in a situation like this where it has just no energy to do anything. Or it could just be traumatized. There could be trauma. Mostly we have seen that when a leopard or a tiger falls in a well and along with a prey animal. So if they have been running after a pig or a dog and the dog falls in a well and the carnivore in the night falls in the well, once inside a well and the dog is right in front of the tiger, but the tiger doesn't kill the dog. In fact, both of them will hold on to their lives on a crevice or something like that. So this has been seen many times. So one of the 3 things are happening. But the unfortunate thing again is that there is there has to be a method in the madness that is shown by people. If I was in charge of this operation, all I would have done is to request the people, and if people believed what I said, all they had to do is get into their homes, and after dark or towards the evening, the tiger would have moved out of the village. No tiger wants to be surrounded by people. So sometimes most of these rescue operations that go out of control have actually, they can easily be handled. It's the only way to do it is to move people away. So the people should just give enough passage. Sometimes it could be even 100 meters, or go into your houses, and then the forest department can slowly nudge the animal in the direction where the forest is probably near. The forest and this village may be close
Dr.
to each other.
Andheriya, tigers have been sighted in this part of eastern UP before. Is it a question of sensitization and training, being too much of an uphill task? Because ultimately, how much can you educate people to stay in their homes? A spectacle is a spectacle. People will come out to look at something like this. So is it on a case-to-case basis going to be difficult of this kind? Because even when you see the tranquilization, it seems to be done in a kind of clumsy manner. But I'm no one to judge, because it's the people on the ground who are taking the risk and doing that difficult job. So I don't want to sit here and judge those people for doing a difficult job.
No, it's a good question, and I think if there are no people, then the veterinary doctor and the forest department will be able to handle this situation in a much better way. So I am also, like you, not in a position to comment on whether the team was well trained or not, because this is Uttar Pradesh, it is Pilibhit, it is near Nepal border. That area does have good density of tigers. But from my experience of Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, I've seen that the forest department people are well trained. The problem is that they really don't get a safe working distance between them and the animal because of too many people around. And there is chaos already. By the time the department reaches there, there is so much noise that the tiger has already gone through trauma. So by the time the forest department gets there, it's very difficult for them to handle it. So obviously much more training needs to be given, but let's not get there. The situation here, I think, is that I am from Bombay, and here in Bombay, we right inside the heart of Bombay city, we have a national park which is 100 square kilometers. There are more than 45, around 50 leopards there. And there was a fantastic program, a very, very successful program, started by the forest department with the help of individuals and NGOs. And they went from building to building, they went from hutment to hutment, and they have sensitized them over the last. It's an ongoing thing. It happens pretty much every time that a leopard enters a residential complex, there are training programs that are held there. So because they have done it over and over again, you hardly ever hear about human leopard conflict in Bombay. And imagine there are 50 leopards living within the city limits. There are 20 million people who live in Bombay. So it is possible. If it can be done in Bombay, there is no reason why it can't be done in Pilibhit, because there, I'm sure there are about 75 to 80,000 people who live in the buffer zone of Pilibhit Tiger Reserve. So that's nothing compared to...
One final question, Dr. Andheriya, is, I just wanted to zoom out a little bit to the comment you made right at the start. 3,600 tigers in the country. Is that a good number? Where are things at as far as, the tiger is concerned? What kind of numbers are we looking at? Where is the fight to save the tiger at this time? Tell us.
So again, if I have 4 or 5 minutes, I can give you a proper answer.
Please.
Just understand that there are... So tigers are found in 13 countries. India has 75% of all tigers, which means there are about 4,500 tigers on Earth, of which 3,600 are in India. So definitely the remaining 12 countries have not even done even remotely as well as what India has done. So on that front, India gets 100 marks. But the devil is always in the detail. And so when you get inside India, and if you look at the habitat that's available, which means the forest, the green cover, we could easily have 7,000-8,000 tigers. However, we only have 3,600 tigers. The reason here there are twofold. One is that there is forest degradation. So you have forests, but there is huge amount of people, and the dependence of people on the forest for fuel wood so that they can cook or be their livestock. So there are 1 billion cattle and livestock heads in India, and a lot of them are free ranging, so they're just left inside the jungle. So the forest quality has gone down. And the second reason is that there is no social acceptance for the tigers in some of the states. So this 3,600 numbers actually comes from 7 to 8 states. So Karnataka, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttarakhand, Assam and Tamil Nadu are those states where you have good amount of conservation work has happened. But if you,
Yes.
even if you look at Uttar Pradesh, which is a very large state, there is hardly any good quality forest left for the tiger. So it's just a sliver of forest habitat along the border with Nepal. So you can understand that they are very precariously placed because there is poverty all around. There is pressure
Absolutely.
from approaching extra limited pressure from Nepal, and you have pressure from India as well. So there is a lot of room. So if you leave these 7-8 states aside, you have tigers in another 11 states. So if those states
Amazing.
follow what these 7 states have done, and they don't have to go out because no other country can teach India what to do. India is already the best that there can be in terms of large
Absolutely.
mammal conservation. So all they have to do is replicate some of what they can do. Also remember that culture plays a big role. So India
Yes.
is a big country and the culture varies from place to place. So in some places where bush meat is still preferred, there is hardly any prey left inside the jungle. So you have good jungle, but there is no food. So the tiger who goes there will eventually feed on cattle, and then it will get poisoned by the villagers because they don't want that kind of loss to
Correct,
happen. So I think
correct. Yeah.
India has huge scope. In the states where they have done well, I think the population is saturated, and that those states are sending tigers because tigers do move a lot. Male tigers move when they are young; they migrate quite a bit. So they
Yes.
are sent. So in fact, the tiger from Maharashtra ended up in Odisha. There was a tiger again from Madhya Pradesh, from Kana, that ended up in Andhra Pradesh. So tigers can walk 7, 8, 900 kilometers if they have to. So they keep sending tigers out.
Okay.
But those states are not socially ready to accept them yet. So I think those things have to be changed. But India has huge potential, and we have pretty much not even 50% where we can be.
We've learned a great deal, not even 50% of where we can be. Great potential. Definitely nice things to hear where it comes to our national animal. It's not just an animal, it's also very symbolic as far as India is concerned. And perhaps India does more for the tiger than any other country. 50% of where we should be. I'm going to take that as something to really, really work towards. Learned a lot here. Thank you very much, Dr. Andheriya, for sharing your wisdom with us on something that, we see as beyond just viral images of a tiger in Pilibhit. Thank you very much, sir.